So the Final Fantasy 16 website is finally up and running, and we've got a whole load of new information. In this video, we're just going to have a look at who the dominants are within each of their countries and what their icons are or might be. So before we jump in, be sure to click subscribe and that bell for notifications so that you don't miss out on any other gaming, anime, art or education videos from us here at Hawthorne Arts. So we're going to jump straight in with the Grand Duchy of Rosaria. So Rosaria's dominant is the dominant of Phoenix, the Firebird, and they get their power from Drake's Breath, that's their crystal. And it seems to be passed down through the Duke's family line, since the main character was expected to get it, but his brother, Joshua, got it instead. So there seems to be a bit of predictability there. The Holy Empire of Sanbreque, that second kingdom that's mentioned on the website, has their dominant serving as their champion. We don't know what he's the dominant of yet, but many people have looked at the long thin dragons on the flag and the blue colour of the flag and said that it's most likely Leviathan, and I think there's a very good chance that that's the case. But I also have another theory as well. You see, if we do look at the flag and at the dragon motifs on the flag, you'll notice that the dragons or serpents have what appears to be feet. I mean, they could be elongated fins, which would support the Leviathan theory, but they do look more like feet than they do fins. There's also another theory that goes hand in hand with this as well. The fact that Sanbreque is ultra religious. They worship the world's deity, which I personally think is a dragon, based around all the names of the crystals. So it would be super fitting if their dominant was Bahamut in its weakest form. But that's something that we'll come to in another video, that theory around Bahamut and the deity of the land and how that works with the crystals. Now Welored, or Welode, however they pronounce it, the Eastern Kingdom has another unknown icon, but its dominant is their king, which lines up well with the fact that they are a warrior kingdom, if we look at their description. So it's sort of similar to Rosaria, where the Duke tends to be the icon. Here in this case, the king is the icon. And judging by their flag, there's a good possibility that that icon might be Odin or Ixion. Odin is probably more likely, since Sleipnir, Odin's horse, has 6 feet, and in the flag we do sort of see that 6-footed symbol on the bottom right. And Odin himself is of course essentially a king, just like the Welored dominant is a king, so it lines up there as well. But at the same time, when we look at the flag, we must also notice that there is no humanoid figure on that flag, so there is potential for it to just be a horse, such as Ixion. Now, through the colour and general shapes, I really do think that lightning will be the element for Welored's dominant either way, which will be appropriate for Odin, who of course is a sky god in mythology, and Ixion, who has been a lightning summon in the past. Personally, I'd be happy with either icon, since I'm a big fan of both, so both work for me. Our next nation is the Dhalmekian Republic, and they get their power from Drake's Fang. Their icon is Titan, who we know and love as an earth elemental, and in the past decade and a bit, we've seen him recently in Final Fantasy 13 chilling out, doing his biogenitor job with the animals, and we're very familiar with his very prominent role in Final Fantasy 15 as one of the 6 there. The dominant is an advisor to the parliament, so they're quite respected in this country. They play quite a prominent role there, so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting seeing how that plays out. The Crystalline Dominion, this nation takes its power from Drake's Tail, and it has no dominant living within the region, which means that the Drake's Tail icon and dominant may be elsewhere in the world, or there may be none at all. Either way, if you look at the flag and its blue and crystalline imagery, I think there's a possibility that Shiva may be the icon for this area. And with Jill probably being the dominant for Shiva, we know that she of course came from a northern country and then was moved from there to Rosaria. And if you look on the map, there doesn't seem to be a crystal in the Northern Territories, so it's a possibility that she is the icon and dominant for the Crystalline Dominion. I think that the part that the Dominion plays in all of this will be very interesting and very important, because if a war was to break out between the east and the west sides of this continent, of Valisthea, then their central position means that they will be the first to take a beating, simply put. if we think back to Final Fantasy 12 with Ivalice, which has a very similar name to Valis Thea, Dalmasca was in the middle, and that's why it was central to the plot, because it was basically getting battered by this war. Now moving on to the Iron Kingdom. Now the Iron Kingdom's super interesting because they're a hyper-religious country with the crystalline, I keep getting mixed up, is it crystalline or crystalline? I don't even know. With the crystalline Orthodox making the rules about dominance. And they've decided that the dominants are all abominations, so they have no known dominant or icon. And if they find them, they kill them. Now, they get their powers from Drake's breath, and that's the same piece of crystal that Rosaria, which is Clive and Joshua's nation, gets theirs from. And this is where things start to get a little bit interesting, because my question is, if Clive and Joshua were expected to become dominants, it implies that Phoenix has been appearing in their family for some time and in a really predictable manner. So then if that's the case, then why would the Iron Kingdom even need to kill dominants, since none would actually be appearing in their land? Unless the crystals aren't necessarily limited to one icon and one dominant at any one time. This potentially means that we can get more than just 5 or 6 icons in this game. We could potentially see a lot more. For all we know, it could be 3 or 4 or 5 icons to each crystal. And this actually brings me on to my current theory. So we're aware that Phoenix is Rosaria's icon and Joshua is its dominant. And in the trailer we know that there was a surprise when another fire dominant, Ifrit, appeared. Now, on Clive's character description, Ifrit is called a dark icon. So this implies that each crystal must bestow at least 2 icons, a dark one and a light one. I'm guessing that the light ones are the ones that we see standardly around the continent. The question that comes with this, of course, is where are all the dark ones? Where have they been all this time? And I'm sure that probably will be a big plot point in the story. But either way, their existence now means that we have a chance of getting at least double the amount of icons and dominants, which makes the story a lot more intriguing. So this made me wonder, who might we end up with then? Who might these dark icons end up being, or these opposing icons end up being? Because to be fair, when you look at the imagery, yes, if it was slightly darker, but he didn't look all that different to Phoenix. So whether he's really dark in the sense of that he's a bad icon, well, that we still have to wait and see. So we've of course got Phoenix and Ifrit on opposing sides for Rosaria and the Iron Kingdom. That's what's been implied, that those two are the icons for that. For Sanbreque, if it does have Leviathan, then maybe the alternative might be Famfrit or Siren, a water summon who we see pop up every now and then. Especially Siren, we do see her quite a lot. And if it's Bahamut, like I said, might be a possibility, then maybe Tiamat, since Tiamat's a dragon, right? For Weloed, if it's Odin, then I think to juxtapose his more melee style, because of course he is a swordsman normally when we see him, Rama, who's more of a mage-like figure, might be a good opposite. And if it was Ixion, then maybe Quetzalcoatl or Garuda, even though I know Garuda is normally wind, they might be really good since they are animals. So opposing them might be a bit more interesting, sort of like we see with Ifrit and Phoenix. To oppose Dhalmekia's Titan, I think we might end up with Maduin, since I think it'll be cool to see, you know, a big sort of punch-up, a throwdown between the two humanoid earth elementals. If you don't know who Maduin is, it's Terra's dad from Final Fantasy VI. He seemed to be a cool dude, or I remember him as a cool dude back when I played it, but he does like to chat up human women while he's on his job. The Crystalline Dominion, that's a tricky one, because of course they don't have a dominant. If Shiva is their crystal's icon, then maybe it's Mateus, I don't know. Or maybe I'm completely off here, and that icon is going to be something holy or light themed. Maybe it's Alexander. Or maybe the Crystalline Dominion's people get a dominant and icon negating power instead. Maybe they're sort of like the antithesis to all these dominants and icons. And maybe that's where that power that we've seen Clive using, the one where he's using a bit of Phoenix's power here, a bit of Titan's power here, maybe that's where it comes from, who knows. I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. My question to you is, what icons do you think we'll see in the game, and where do you think they'll come from? Personally, I like Ifrit, Shiva and Bahamut as recurring summons. I'm really excited whenever I see them pop up in new Final Fantasies, but for the rest, I don't actually mind. When I see past obscure ones that reappear, I actually get more excited than I do when I'm seeing Leviathan, Rama or Titan, because yeah, they're not really part of the big three. I feel like Ifrit, Shiva and Bahamut are the big three that we really want to see, and the rest are sort of just add-ons. Anyway, that's all for today, guys. I have some more theory videos coming in the next few weeks and a few more analysis videos, so be sure to check those out. Also, on screen should be some videos appearing now. Definitely give those a look. And be sure to subscribe for more gaming, anime, art and education content on a weekly basis if you have not already. So, once again, thanks for listening. That's all for now. Until next time.